And we're live. Oh man, I really hope you guys can hear Jesse. But I am not
Let's
confident.
find out.
So let's say that in the chat. Also, I just posted in the chat our Discord. If you want to go to our Discord and yell at us in a different way, please come hang out with us. All right, now I'm starting. Yeah.
Wait, stop telling people to yell at us. Life is hard.
Don't yell at
Just
us.
be like, come in and tell Jordan what a great job he's doing all the time.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to do that.
Don't talk about me at all. Good, bad, anything.
All right. So welcome to Crack Movie Club, the show where we do a book club, but for movies, which are like books but better. I am your ratchet ringmaster, circuitous, carny, and gallant geek, Jordan Breeding, and I'm joined by my co-host Jesse and Allie. Say hello.
Hello. We have a little Skype window that is for where we record, which Jordan has named Nightmare Alley, but spelled like my name.
I know.
I really liked that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Big surprise. Best part of my day.
I am all about doing things that are clever here. So I'm going to say real quick that as we open this up, as we got about 100 people in here, if you have an observation, if you have a freaking alternate title, which that goes to you as well, Allie, if you've forgotten.
I have one.
Okay, great. Feel free to throw them in the chat, and I think Brian is in there somewhere, and we'll be throwing them to me, but maybe not. I don't know if Brian's in here or not, but I'm hopeful.
I'm hopeful.
I'm gonna ask the chat, can you hear Jesse? Because I'm worried that you can't.
For me, Jesse has like really intense Nightmare Alley type mood lighting.
It's intentional, yeah.
And it's always snowing out my one giant window.
Nobody can hear you, Jesse. Great.
That's so Guillermo del Toro of you.
All right.
Nobody can hear him?
No, I'm going to try this. So now talk. I'm worried.
Quick, everybody roast Jesse.
Jesse.
All right. Don't roast me. I'm helpless, ostensibly.
Talk for a second.
All right. Still going to keep on talking. Has anybody else watched Nightmare Alley? What's going on in the chat? Do you guys like this movie?
I'm worried that we're going to get a double.
I don't know. I'm going to pull up the chat so I can be a part. I can be the kind of a person
What's cracking today? Oh, now you can. Stephen Guy says you can hear. Oh, yeah. Now they're hearing me. Thank you, Ben Zur. Broken Glasses says it's a
I fixed it.
Podcast.
All right. I'm a freaking genius. All right, kids. We're doing this podcast. If you got shit to say it in the chat. I swore, but I'm pretty sure we're past 30 seconds.
Phew! Wasn't me this time.
So here's what we're doing. We're talking about Nightmare Alley, which was nominated for Best Picture, if I'm not mistaken. It did not win, and I'm very happy that it did not, but we will get into that.
It didn't win anything?
I don't think so.
At all?
It won Best...
However, Guillermo del Toro was just tweeting out pictures of him just being like, having fun, love to cheer for my friends, which I thought was wonderful.
That made it hard for me to hate him because I really hated him for most of the movie because it was so long and nothing happened.
Yeah.
And I held it against him personally.
I love him. Speaking as the foremost and only fan of Pacific Rim in the entire nation, I love Guillermo del Toro and I will always be there to defend my man. But I think if you go to the Oscars and you know you're not going to win anything, it is fun to just sort of adopt an attitude of just like having fun, happy to be here, having fun with my good friends.
Yeah.
Matt Damon. Like, I think that is the way to do it.
Yeah, when this podcast inevitably gets sent to the Oscars, we will make sure to talk to all of our friends like Matt Damon and somebody said we should mention Will Smith. Okay, you ready?
What about him?
Will Smith. Good, bad, in the right, in the wrong. Let's do a hot take right off the top.
Us or the chat?
For the chat or for me?
For you.
Oh my God. Well, first of all, I hope you all enjoyed watching the last ever live Oscars. I'm glad we were all there. They will find some way next year to be like, we just realized when we pre-taped this part and aired it an hour later that it just was better. They're going to find some way to pretend that it has nothing to do with it.
They're probably going to manufacture some sort of global pandemic so everyone has to record their stuff from home and
not have people in the same room.
Yeah.
No, I just how they recorded stuff ahead of time. in the same place with the same people in the same dresses, but it was just like an hour before they did all the tech awards, which is insane for its own reason. But like, I think they're going to find a way to use that to justify doing that for the ceremony. Honestly, I think they're going to be like, yeah, it just went like really well. And I think that if we adopted those techniques for this broadcast, we're just going to see a tighter, better broadcast. So it's not live, but it's kind of live. Like, I think that's what's going to happen next year.
I think the exact opposite. I think the producer's going to be stoking beefs behind, like they're going to be like, I'll give you $20 if you go slap Guillermo del Toro for no reason, because
it's going to be just full reality.
Guillermo del Toro, I will come for them.
You know how many views this thing is going to get now that it was not going to get? And the Academy Awards can still be like, oh, well, we didn't want that to happen, obviously. But they would get so many fewer views. You can't slap through the phone, contrary to what is that Drake or whatever?
Looney Tunes.
I can't remember who did that song. Kiss You Through the Phone? Who did that song?
I like that we had different things going on where like you were referencing a song, but Jesse was referencing a trope from Looney Tunes where somebody's fist comes through a phone, a landline, and hits you.
Right. And or every single Freddy movie, at some point the phone licks the girl. She'll like pick up the phone to call somebody and a tongue will come out.
Ew.
That's
love it.
Unless they can
fun. Didn't know that.
Unless they can do that in next year's Oscars, they're gonna do it live so that more people will punch more people. Is my thought.
I mean, I definitely think that, like, from a producer standpoint, this is the best and worst thing that could ever happen to them. It's the best thing because ratings, but it's the worst thing because they do need to issue some sort of a statement about it, which they still haven't.
Okay, but
all of they said they don't condone violence.
Do you know what I'm saying, though? Like, at some point, they're going to have to say something, and I don't know if there's a right thing to say, which is kind of why when you were like, hot take, I was like, there's no right thing to say. And there is really no, like, right thing to say. So I think the Oscars, the committee or whatever it is sort of painted into a corner where they're like, I'm very glad that happened. I can't say I'm glad that happened.
I don't think...
And I have to say that can't happen again, because if I don't say it can't happen again, people will do it more. But I wish they would do it more. Do you know what I'm saying?
I think that you all are not aware of how the world works at this point, which is you do horrible things, and then you apologize, and then you succeed. And it's just sort of that perpetuating cycle. It's why... This is a separate example, but that's why IHOP changed its name to IHOB for a little while.
I remember that with the burgers.
Yeah, yeah.
It was fake. They didn't really have burgers at all.
No, they did have burgers.
It was like
but it
was a joke. They didn't really change the name.
I know, but everybody got mad at them for doing it, and their burger sales went up 25%. And this is a thing that will just continue to happen forever, which is, I think...
Are we going to get 20% more Smith children?
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe we're going to get a full-on, like, Family Feud style, like, everyone has to take sides.
Yeah, I mean, I think this was a thing that Trump did, for better or worse. He would do something that was, whatever, people would get mad about, and he would just stay in the news forever and ever, and it became, like, the best free advertising you could ever do. And so I think the Academy Awards is thrilled. Somebody is there.
Yeah, no, somebody's thrilled. They just can't. They can't act too thrilled.
Totally.
Or else people
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like behind closed doors, they all were like popping champagne and watching it on slow-mo replay, 100%.
Yeah. They were just like scooping cocaine into their mouth, and they're like, "We did it.
We did it, ladies and gents. We did it."
But all of that is beside the point. We're just trying to stay topical. What we're here to talk about is something that the Academy Awards didn't talk about at all.
Not at all.
Which is
Not once.
Nightmare Alley.
Guillermo del Toro punched Amy Schumer.
And no one's talking about it.
Yeah. She died.
God, that was such a messy... the whole thing felt so...
sexy.
It felt kind of like going to see your roommate's improv show. It had like that kind of energy to me. The whole ceremony. I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh, I think we saw our last live Oscars.
I did picture, so I actually... I don't know. I don't have a lot of opinions on how like Amy Schumer did and Wanda Sykes and all that. It was like basically fine. But I was picturing during the Spider-Man segment, people being like, "Oh, I bet you'll like that, Jesse, because you like sketch comedy." And like I already was preemptively like defending like, I like good sketch comedy.
Yeah, I kept being like, "These are skits. These are skits."
Yeah, right.
These aren't sketches. These are skits. Like it's
yes,
yeah.
that's a great distinction. So again, I think overall I was pretty happy with all that, the goofy stuff in between. But like, I did not want to be accused of enjoying the Spider-Man skit.
Honestly, the worst thing in the world to be accused of would be to be enjoying the Spider-Man skit.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we're talking about Nightmare Alley. Um,
You can't have Allie do a podcast the day after the Oscars and not talk about the Oscars.
no, everybody yells at us because we never talk about the damn
I know.
movie. So we're gonna talk
I mean,
about.
honestly, I wish I had more to say. I really, honestly don't. I thought that Billie Eilish kind of looked like a Elden Ring character when she was singing her Bond song. I sort of enjoyed that.
That's great, but did you enjoy Nightmare Alley?
Right. Okay, Nightmare.
Nightmare Alley is, in my opinion, a movie that happened around me.
Yes. Okay.
It didn't really happen to me.
Let's do.
It happened sort of in my general vicinity.
Right.
If that makes sense. That's how I felt.
It was very
about
immersive,
Nightmare.
sure.
Yes.
Yeah, I felt like I was there.
Yeah.
And I was cold. It was snowing the whole time. Brr.
Yes. Let's somebody just recap the movie for 99% of the people in this chat who obviously haven't seen it, because why would you have?
How about instead of a recap, I just give you my HBO Go password? If you got 2.5 hours. So
Why don't you go ahead and read out your social security number while you're at it?
Yeah. That'd be a
Good
nightmare.
idea. All right. So let's see. Basic recap, unless somebody else has a really good one.
Go.
All right, we got a man who's far too handsome to be a carny is a carny because he's running from some past violence in his life. It turns out that past violence is he killed his stepdad for kind of no reason. He just didn't like him. It didn't really matter. But he becomes a carny to run from his
All right,
old life.
faster.
And
We gotta do these faster
okay.
than we've been doing them.
So he's starting to get really good at being a carny, but then the cops come. They're about to shut it down because they find out about the Geek, who's this like just sickly old drunkard that they're torturing. So the handsome carny, uses carny techniques to save the carnival. And then he realizes, wow, in that moment I graduated from carny school, and he goes off and he makes his own little like Long Island medium sort of business where he goes and with his hot carny wife, they grift a bunch of rich people. Fly too close to the sun. They start trying to grift some like uber rich folks, and they try to basically they start getting props involved, and that's when it all goes to hell. They try and dress up.
The death of any good sketch is when you try and get too many props involved.
I've always
They
said
went
that.
too hard on the props.
Too many props.
They basically go from like reading minds to doing what they call spook shows, which is like getting their marks to believe that like the ghost of their dead little brother is right behind them. That's indicated to be a thing you don't want to get into. Sure enough, they get into that, and that's their downfall, and it all crumbles. And
Amen.
About
So let's do this. That was an excellent recap. There are some people that are already being mad in the chat. So let's say the things that we did like before we get into. I think we're all in a general.
Because they loved it.
Yeah. Including.
Oh, I respect that. Again, I have to be honest. Did not love this movie. Didn't hate this movie, but didn't feel any strong emotions about it kind of either way, to be entirely honest. However, as a person who will die defending Pacific Rim, and I'm not saying like I could, but like I'm sure that I will die in some heated argument where I'm like, Pacific Rim was actually really great and really fun, and you're stupid for not understanding that. I want to say that I will be on the side of the people who are like, no, you're stupid. And I will accept that. Maybe I am stupid. Just this, it was really pretty to look at. There were a lot of people acting in it, and they were acting. Like, they were doing a good job. Like, good actors. Kate Blanchett, have you ever seen her be bad in something? No. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, there's no such thing as, like, these A-list actors were really stinking it up. Like, they were doing a good job. It just, there were a lot of times in the movie where something was presented to me as potentially a twist, and I couldn't tell if I was meant to be surprised at it as a twist or not. And so I didn't like, I did not feel, the way like when a movie unfolds a really truly excellent twist, I don't feel like it did that, but I think it was kind of tiptoeing around it to be like, it's okay if you knew this was going to happen, but for those who didn't, surprise. And I don't like that. I would rather you sort of like take a hard line. Like, for example, in the summary you just gave, he kills his stepfather, and it's like kind of clear in the beginning of the movie that he did that, even though he doesn't like say it outright, but it's like you can tell from the acting and the script that is what happened. And so then when Toni Collette's husband dies mysteriously after having a run-in with Bradley Cooper's character, and everyone's like, he died, and then it's like supposed to be a twist later in the movie that Bradley Cooper was responsible for it. I was like, that was a surprise. Oh, I'm
Yeah,
not. I thought you told me that. Like, I thought we explicitly told me that that was true. Do you know
it's
what I
like
mean?
a
I felt
unique.
like we got a couple of those.
It's like a unique. There was a lot of just the most obvious Chekhov's guns that I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
One of them being literally a gun, but it's like they're giving out Chekhov's guns to everyone in the crowd. Like, you don't have to just pick up on the one happening in the show. It's like they serve it to you on the silver platter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're like, this whiskey is poisonous, but this whiskey is regular whiskey. Hope nobody confuses them.
Yeah, or it'd be like a character outright being like, you know what's easy to poison? Whiskey, because you can't see the poison in it. And then later in the movie, somebody dies because there was poison in their whiskey, and then you're supposed to be like, holy, what? You did that? I didn't expect it because only earlier you had told me that you've done it before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
look,
then,
all
like,
of this
Kate
is.
Blanchett too.
I was just saying, all of this is forgivable. It was a fun, like, it was a cool, like, little world that they built, but it was too long. My man, we didn't need 2.5 hours. As soon as I saw it was 2.5 hours, Guillermo, you lost me.
So
You're really anti-long movie at this moment.
yeah.
I certainly am, unless it warrants it, like Titanic.
Oh, that's where you're gonna take your stand. Interesting.
The last good movie ever made was Titanic.
It was the last double VHS.
So I will
I
say
recall.
that it's very similar to. I'm gonna make a random comparison. It's very similar to the last season of Game of Thrones for me, which is to say, I didn't have any problems with any of the plot points or any of the things that happened or anything that the characters chose necessarily. I actually think they just felt too rushed and not explained for a movie that's as long as it is. For example, like one of the main things that happens is he spends 75% of the movie, Bradley Cooper's character saying, I don't drink. I'm proud that I don't drink. My stepdad used to drink. He really sucked. I hate that guy. I don't drink. It messes you up. And then at some point he gets a little success and he goes, you know what? I feel like I'm just going to start drinking. And
I'm
it's
gonna be bad.
yeah, and it's a little bit like, but what has really changed in your life? Like, you have a little bit more money. And that's the other thing is, I don't have a problem with somebody having grown up poor and they just like feel like money is this thing that they can't get enough of because they want that security. But that's never really what it is. He's just like, hey, what if I had more money? And you're like, yeah, I mean, you could, I guess. There's not a lot of dimension to the choices that he makes. I don't necessarily have a problem with the choices that he makes. It's just that they're never really fully explored in any interesting way. He's just kind of like, I've chosen you, only hot woman in the carnival, to be in love with because
Yeah.
you are that, and we're going to run away because I could make more money maybe because I could tell that this cop had a bad foot. And I don't know, it just kind of felt like things just kept happening. But you didn't really feel like there was a big reason behind anything.
It's one of those things where, like, I know that this was based on a book, and then also there was a version of this movie that was in black and white in the 40s,
Right.
which was like very heavy-handedly in the genre of noir film. And I think that this was sort of like a modern take on the noir film, which I respect. And I do think that, like, there are certainly points where, like, visually that couldn't have been nailed harder. So,
Yeah.
like, it's not like a swing and a miss. But it's one of those things where, like, certain things are acceptable in certain genres when they're, like, really heavily in said genre. Like, for example, like, when you're watching like a great cowboy movie Western and there's like two sheriffs who hate each other, no one ever really goes way deep into the like, oh, he's the outlaw and he's the sheriff, or he's the new guy and he's the old guy. We have to really get into psychologically what's going on here. That is not what happens in the genre. You sort of are supposed to, because you've accepted what you come to the movie for. Bad guy, good guy. Agree? And everybody goes, I agree. And nobody goes, well, I didn't get a backstory for the bad guy. They're like, he's the bad guy. Who fucking cares? He's the bad guy, right? And so, like, I think in noir, when it's like the the mysterious older woman, the sweet carnival lady who you run away with, the money hungry young upstart who was never given validation in his life. Like, I think these archetypes exist and like thrive. But then when you're like, oh, it's a noir, but also it's a psychological thriller, but also it's a contemporary drama with lots of backstory. Then those little things start to sort of fall through the holes in the grate because you're like, but you introduced him to me as a complex psychological character, but you're not treating him like that because you don't tell me why he feels that way. He just kind of wants more money. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Okay. I feel like I just talked for a while.
No,
but
no.
that was like my overall feeling of the movie.
And I think that's accurate. I sort of get the impression too that they just keep introducing characters that seem like they're going to matter or have something to do with something, or even problems for that matter. Like that. By the way, a hand job in a bathtub. Like where
That happened so fast.
Well, where's it going to go? This is going to be
Probably
the
just
bathtub.
the bathtub.
Yeah, it's going to be floating around. I don't think it had a drain.
You don't think the bathtub had a drain?
No, it was like a wash basin or whatever. This is a portable carny tub. It's gonna be. The husband's gonna come back.
Before he got in, she also just like very briefly wiped it with a towel, which like
Yeah,
it's like a what's that kind of pan that you're not supposed to wash so all the flavors stay in it?
Yeah, like a cast iron skillet.
Pan. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad that that's what you were thinking about though for the rest of the movie.
I was like, her husband's gonna come back and see all this floating jizz in this bathtub and be like, "What happened?" He'd be like, "Well, he was great with the soap. I don't know. He was very thorough."
Yeah, I guess like
But,
it's
like-
also like he was established as being a very smart guy, like a person who could like read people's tells. One, because he had this book full of instruction, which made him better at it.
Yeah.
But also because he clearly like was sort of born with the gift of perception,
Right.
let's say.
Because he was sad, as they alluded to.
Because he was sad.
Sad people are better at it.
But there are people in the world who are just like very good at being perceptive and like read people's tells better than others.
Right.
Like, that exists. And so it was also kind of weird to me that like for a person who was so good at it, he like was so bad at dealing with Kate Blanchett. Do you know what I mean? Because like I know that she's supposed to be the spider in the web and she manipulates from behind the scenes, but even the fact that he was like, I don't drink, and she was like, we'll see about that.
Yeah.
He should be like, no. When a person says stuff like that, they probably don't want the best for me.
Well, and
They're
so
probably trying to do something to me. I'm out.
there's actually a really interesting thing. So apparently in the original movie that you alluded to, which I was just reading some reviews and stuff, and I think it's generally accepted that that one was better at a lot of different things. Obviously wasn't as pretty and wasn't as certain things, but the motivations for characters were a little clearer. Apparently the whole deal is that psychiatry in 1947, which is when the movie came out, or 1946, which is when the novel that all this was based on was written, was seen, and not ironically, this is just people generally saw it as about as valuable or worthwhile or whatever, as legit, I suppose, as a dude, as a mentalist, as somebody who can talk to dead people or can read people or whatever. And so the illusion or the metaphor being established is that psychiatry is just as much of a hustle, basically, as a mentalist guy. So he's getting played in the exact same game that he's playing, but it's dressed up as science a little bit, so he doesn't see it as clearly. But because this movie is coming out now and they don't really do anything to say, hey, by the way, this is how psychiatry works, there's no reason, there's not really at any point where I realize, oh, she's like a bad person because of her profession, other than, I guess, generally she's giving up secrets on people, which I guess is kind of shitty. But it is interesting.
Yeah.
She never seems to want the money. And so it's hard to understand what she's going for. Although at the end, I do appreciate that she's like, this was all because you were mean to me. Which I think is kind of a funny, where like some guy is able to read her and she's like, I'm going to spend the next hour ruining your whole life because.
Yeah, I'm going to absolutely ruin you and your wife and everything about you. You're going to have to go be a geek in a circus.
And also, though, my rich clients, I don't know why she's willing to give up her rich clients so that they die. It's just a very odd, like, why is she's losing two huge sources of income potentially.
Yeah, something that I didn't know if the movie tried to answer and I missed it, or if it just didn't have an answer for it all, was she aware that at some point he came back and stole files from her? Because basically she goes, I couldn't possibly give you that information. It's top secret. And if it ever got out that I said that, I would have no more clients for the rest of my life. And Bradley Cooper goes, that makes sense. So he comes back in the middle of the night and takes like an imprint of her key and then like makes a key and then steals her stuff.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, she's very smart and she's a master manipulator. Did she know he did that? And this was just sort of her plausible deniability of just like, how could I have possibly known? He obviously stole it from me. Or was she stupid and he just stole from her? It was just one of those things that like I don't think the movie answered, and I was like anticipating an answer for that. And so I was very distracted when it never came back up again.
Well, they just didn't have time to answer all those questions. You know, they got to
I
keep
think
it
should have been
tight.
15 minutes longer.
Yeah.
I want answers to all my questions. I say 30 minutes longer. Why not? We should end with a sequence where they do fake bloopers like in Pixar movies.
That would have been very delightful. I will say that I do think the last 30 minutes is the best part, because that's when things actually start happening. It felt very much like I don't know if either of you have read Needful Things by Stephen King, but the basic gist is everybody in this town, a store pops up, and of course it's run by Satan, but they don't know that. And the one thing that they want in life is there. And then in order to get it, they have to pull a prank on somebody, and it seems small, but of course it spirals out of control. And by the end of the movie, the whole town is killing each other, and it's everybody's getting destroyed. And to me, it felt like a lot of that thing where it's like they're helped in their thing for a while, and then it turns out that it's bad. So like the family is able to come to terms with the death of their son, but it leads to a murder-suicide or whatever. But I wish there had been more of that too, because that's the only bad thing that really comes of his mentalism thing. I mean, he pushes it too far, and that's actually sort of an adjacent point, which is, was he raping women or something? The rich guy at the end?
Bradley Cooper? Oh.
No, the rich man with the huge mansion.
He was hurting women, but
I think he at least forced one woman to have an abortion, which killed her, and so maybe he was doing other stuff like that.
Gotcha.
Yeah, he sort of was like, I've just done terrible things. I've done terrible things. But then he also sort of was like, all those women. And so my brain went to, he was killing women to feel alive. I don't know. What are reasons why men kill women? I'm not aware.
I mean, I got a
like,
few, but
I got the sense that he was like a miserable man who was like out there killing sort of like impoverished women who would never be tracked down because he was so messed up about this other thing that happened to him with, what was his wife's name? It was a very old-fashioned name that I kept thinking kind of distracted me. It was like Polly. What was his name? What was her name?
Wait,
yeah, I don't remember.
Which woman?
I mean,
his wife or whatever?
Yeah, his wife.
The woman that died that hot carny girl dressed up as?
Yeah,
or is
yeah,
that yeah. Like
It doesn't matter.
Mara or something, yeah.
It was her last name. It was Rooney Mara's last name was the name.
Yeah.
Twist. Well, I guess what I was going to say about that, though, was it almost feels like, so maybe that's a good thing that guy gets his nose bashed in. I think.
Yeah, he got his nose punched off.
I guess I don't need there to be clear cut morality, but I just felt like it kept. I just didn't. There's nobody that I really cared whether they lived or died or anything, because it just felt like, and maybe this is the point, like in a noir, everybody's bad, but it got all so mixed up. I was like, I don't really care that Rooney is sad. I mean, I guess I don't like when people are sad, but like just in general, it just kind of happened. Like you were saying, just people had things happen to them, and I was like, I don't really care that much, but
there definitely wasn't enough like psychological complexity behind any of the character for me to like really intensely feel about any of them.
Sure.
Which again, if it's just like straight up a noir film, I'm not entirely sure that is like a hallmark of the genre. And like a lot of times it is just like the young wife who's like, please find my husband. I can't believe he's gone missing, and he wouldn't have done it. I swear.
Right.
The cops think it's fine, but I know that he's never left a glass out on the vanity. that woman exists in the movie, and you don't really ever get in her head. But this movie kind of was like, no, it is a noir, but it's also will know everybody. And so like when she was just like, I'm sad and you ignore me and I don't like it anymore. I was like, that's reasonable.
I'm angry. I'm going to a public men's room.
I was like, you should go home. That makes sense to me too. But like, I don't feel anything about her because like I'm not really like, I don't really know her.
Right.
She's just like a coworker.
Right.
She's like a coworker I work with, but she's not like I don't know.
Well, there's even like Bradley Cooper accused her of being a character with more depth, and she was like, no, I'm not. I'm fine here.
I not to spoil a movie that you both might watch someday or not, but like in Power of the Dog, the Kirsten Dunst character is being driven to alcoholism.
Word.
By her like isolation and her misery, essentially.
Geek
I'm
behavior.
really oversimplifying this, but essentially I'm trying not to give too much information, but that is what's happening. And I'm not trying to say that like the correct answer would be to have Rooney Mara be driven to alcoholism, but like I never saw her sort of getting pushed to the brink, and I never felt scared for her and her choices because I never saw her having to make them. She was just sort of like, stop doing this. I really want you to stop. And then he was like, one last one. And she was like, fine, but I better not get killed. I was like, fair feedback. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. She didn't have anything that was like on the brink or gonna get lost if she didn't escape. I don't know.
Yeah, and I think just similarly, Bradley Cooper, you don't really get any sense of his end game. Even when he's like, this is one last job, you don't have a sense of how much money it even is. Like he doesn't say, if we do this, we'll be set up for life. And even then, what would we do with our life? I don't know. I guess it's just like, I don't know what you're going for other than to be in control of things, which I get. I mean, that's appealing, I suppose, in some way. But
they did cover the money thing because he asked, is this guy rich? And then she's like, yeah, very rich.
Yeah, and at one point he hands him an envelope full of money, and you never see how much money it is, but it's just like a lot of $100 bills, and you're like, that's a lot of $100 bills.
Well,
yeah, and he's like,
kind of it.
I'm willing to spend up to $10,000 per session.
Yeah, I mean,
Right,
I get that.
It's a lot of money.
I get that it is a lot of money, but it's not like he's going to open his own carnival. I just don't know what he's doing anything for. He just is like, it's better to have more money than less money. Thusly, I will do this, and I'm also not going to tell my girlfriend about it until at the end when I 100% need her to go balls out in the craziest thing.
For his character, and it's something that like Kate Blanchett, I think her character's name was Lilith, which is very on the nose also about like bad women. We're called Lilith. I think at one point she's like, you didn't get any attention and you didn't get any love. So like you really crave people's not only feedback, but like you need to like be their savior essentially. And that like part of the mentalist thing isn't just, wow, what a good showman. Otherwise he'd just do like fun little magic tricks, but it's also that people look at him as being like better than or touched in some way. And that like, and that's sort of like filling the daddy didn't love me hole in the heart. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
that not only is he the strong man, look how cool I am at doing circus tricks, but also that people will like look at him and be like, you have a gift, you are special, I admire and cannot be you. And that feeds a part of him in an ego sense.
Yeah.
Which doesn't make sense with him needing more money. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like psychologically, in terms of like the character we've set up, unless we had set up that like he was trying to launch this nationwide show where everyone will know he's the best mentalist in the world. He just kind of like needed more money. And I guess they didn't live in like that nice of an apartment, but no one was ever like sad about it. They just kind of lived there. Yeah. I agree with that.
He was just the most protagonist possible. It's like when restaurants have like a food challenge where they're like, eat this giant hamburger. The crazy thing is, it's really, really big. It's kind of the same with Bradley Cooper. It's just like, wow, look at all the motivations he has. He has daddy issues. He wants money.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah,
sex.
at least when you eat a giant burger, they like give you like a T-shirt or something that says like "I survived the giant burger at Rita's roadside restaurant" or whatever.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I definitely enjoyed the first third. Like once they were, I liked the carnival part, and I liked everybody
Mhm.
getting their noses bashed in. But it definitely was that middle part for me is where everything kind of slowed down, where I just didn't really understand why anybody was doing anything. Or like you were saying, Allie, there was a lot of those like half-assed reveals or whatever,
Yeah.
where it's like, I also didn't understand what a spook show was until like the end of the movie, and they're like, "That's why you don't do spook shows," and I was like, "Oh, that's what you were talking about." I
Yeah,
didn't
they were
understand.
like, there was definitely like a "that's why you always leave a note" tone to this
Yeah.
movie by the end.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, and I will say too, I am surprised that he agreed to become a geek, knowing
Ugh.
fully how the whole thing worked, rather than just like playing somebody at some point again. Like,
I think that was like his giving over to being an alcoholic derelict.
I know, but it was so fast. I don't know.
His
Yeah.
performance in that moment was excellent. That was like
Yes.
some of his best acting. And I was kind of disappointed that it happened then. And I was like, "Ooh, I wish I'd seen more of that," because that was really good.
Sure.
He's
Yeah.
just a very good actor. That's like the thing, is that like I think a lot of these movies will just be good by the virtue of the fact that when you are Guillermo del Toro, you can be like, "I want this guy for my movie," and they go, "Sure." And so you just like have this roster of amazing actors with like a great cinematographer and a lot of money, and so movies will never be like out and out repulsively bad. But
Right.
then sometimes things like this happen where it's like not bad, but I can't necessarily say I would tell people they have to go watch this movie ASAP.
Right. Or that it would
Speaking of,
necessarily be the best picture, other than that it has a bunch of high end elements, like you're saying. Like, wow, it looks great, it's acted well, that fulfills enough technical criteria, as opposed to, something I
Yeah.
filmed in my garage doesn't look good and I'm in it. And so they're like, well, that doesn't qualify.
but it's got heart.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
I
it's
was
got a lot of charisma and moxie, kid.
Yeah.
You could do this professionally, baby.
Hey.
We got to get you out to New York. We got to get you into the movies, the pictures.
Well, speaking of things that Jordan shot in his garage, I will say this is the type of dumb movie that Bruce Willis should have a cameo in.
Mm.
I
He
would love
deserves to be in stuff like this, not everything he did last year.
Speaking of cameos, isn't it every person's dream to be loved the way that Guillermo del Toro loves Ron Perlman? That should be a Hallmark card that they make every Valentine's Day. I love you as much as Guillermo del Toro loves Ron Perlman. If there is not a part for you in my movie, baby, I'll write a part for you in my movie, and you will get some good lines. That's love.
Yeah. It's like
Yeah, mhm.
she didn't need a surrogate father to smack Bradley Cooper. And even if she did, Willem Dafoe could have been that, or anybody else could have been. They're just like, hey, Ron Perlman's here. Do you wanna put him in? It's like, yeah, make him her kind of dad who doesn't really care what.
It doesn't matter. He didn't have to be in there. It just
Yeah.
he just loves him, and he's like, I don't actually think we're going to be making a, like in that like trope of somebody who's like, you better hope that my daddy, the head of Chase Bank, doesn't hear about this. Like that's how I feel Ron Perlman is, where he's like, you better hope that Guillermo doesn't hear about this. No part for me in the film, and he's like comes in to fix it for him.
Right.
Oh,
Hey, can you play a strongman, but don't work out at all in preparation? I want just full old man body.
I like old man body. I believe that those men are strong.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they're carny strong. They're
Yeah, exactly.
They're hopped up
But
on
like scary
alcohol.
surprise strong, which is kind of fun.
And his best friend is a dwarf, naturally.
For the fun.
For the fun of it, it's really a delightful little.
I thought that role was played well because
Yeah.
because like he's literally a sideshow. There could be nothing more demeaning for a little person to play, but he commanded respect in his performance and in the lines too. Or that one point where he tells Bradley Cooper, "Don't bend down to talk to me."
Oh yeah.
That was,
Oh yeah.
I like that. That was like that just spoke volumes about him as a character, I think.
Can I say something else I didn't totally understand about the movie, and you can tell me if I'm stupid? I had the impression that the electric act that was done by Rooney Mara was fake, much like all the other things in the carnival. For example, when Toni Collette was reading people's minds, it's because they had collected the cards and she was seeing her husband hold up the answers in a mirror. So when later in the movie she was like, "Can I give you a metaphor? When that electric current was going through my body, sometimes it was so much pain I could hardly stand it. But I did stand it for you, which is why I'm leaving you." And I was like, it hurt? It hurt? It hurt?
I mean, I think.
Am I dumb?
No, I think.
No, I think it's like DC current, right? I think that's or no, that's the one that kills you even better.
No, it's just it's a different type of trick. It's the girdle or whatever she's wearing dilutes it enough that it doesn't kill her. But yeah, she's being actually electrocuted. It's just
it is hurting her.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think
I was like, this is all fake. And so then when
now,
she
what
was
about
like,
that
"It's
spider
actually
lady?"
real," I was
well, that's the thing, right? Is I think some of the tricks are more real than others to kind of keep it all going. Obviously, the geek dude is not half monster, but he is fully eating that chicken or whatever.
Oh, I was gonna say terrible acting on that chicken's part. By the way,
they
Gets
couldn't have
its
found a
neck
better chicken.
bitten into and blood spurts out. Doesn't even blink.
Yeah, it doesn't balk its final words. I don't even think that was a real chicken. Movies are so soft these days.
No, it was a real chicken. The way you like pretend to like bite your dog or something like that. You just go nom 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 nom. That's what it felt like to me.
I learned from a recent interview with Robert Pattinson that this is completely unrelated, that when chickens get really, really afraid, sometimes they just fall asleep. Because their like nervous systems, which are not particularly advanced, just kind of go, "We can't deal with this," and they just sort of shut down.
That's like goats, right? That's why there's all those videos of goats flipping out and just passing out.
Fainting goats.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that sometimes. There are a lot of times where I'll just be like, "I wish I was asleep." So I get it.
I also feel that way, not necessarily in fear, but
or stress. For just like,
yeah, I get that. Yeah, when I'm stressed, it's when I'm stressed and I go get a cup of coffee and it makes me get more tired. That's how I relate to chickens.
Also, are we sure this is scientifically accurate? It's interesting that it came up in a Robert Pattinson interview. A guy who
I know that he makes stuff up.
Really
it seems like he was really enjoying his story, which seems to be a tent pole of him being a real person as opposed to a fake person. Do you know what I mean? I think when it seems like he's not having any fun, you can assume he's lying. But I think if he's enjoying a fact or a person's company or seems to be having he's like an impish energy that people don't know about. Do you know what I mean? And I think when he's being a little scamp, he is being truthful.
I'll write that down somewhere so that
I love that.
I'm more attuned to what's actually being said in his interviews, the truth, the veracity of it.
Well, like, because he famously will be like, "How was your trip here?" And he'll be like, "That's such a boring question." And he'll be like, "Oh my God, on my way here, I died." because as like a response to such a boring question.
Yeah. Cool. So any final thoughts on Nightmare Alley before we go to questions from the gallery?
The gallery.
Yes? No? So let's go.
Yeah, let's go to him.
I'm going to look and see if I have notes while you do that. I don't think so.
Jeffrey Luciana wants to know, was there a kissing booth in the movie? I don't think so.
I don't think there was.
It was like, will he kiss you? Will he bite your face off? No.
No, there's no kissing, but you could feed the geek a cigarette if you were.
Was that really one of them?
Bradley Cooper.
Oh.
Well, I mean, he like knocks on his cage one day and gives him a drag of a cigarette.
That was really nice. And then he beats to death the other one with a brick.
Oh, that is something I wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that was it. He hits him twice in like a pretty weak punch, and there's already a guy yelling, "Stop it! You're gonna kill him."
I mean, he is probably.
Like
I guess it's to show that he can punch your nose whole ass into your head if he wants to.
Yeah.
As he may do later. Yeah.
That was another one of those things where it was like, all right, this is so like memorable for some stupid reason that him punching a guy is going to come back. I just know it.
Amen. All right. Stephen Frank says movies are too long now. Yep.
Jesse, you want to speak on that?
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Stephen Guy says the Oscars should become the WWE, and I Might as well. That way people will get hurt less because it won't be actual people mad about their wives slapping you as hard as they can. It'll just
It
be
would be fun though if like when Jessica Chastain wins Best Actress, like Olivia Colman stands up from the audience and is like, "Not on my watch," and then they fight. Like, that would be really fun. Like, I would like that.
it's just like all those really nice outfits getting torn, like down to
and, like,
leotards.
really nice,
Yeah.
slightly older actresses who like have great reputations for being a joy to work with, but like just have like a fun WWE moment. I can't disagree with that.
We agree with you, Stephen Guy. BRKN says Gaunt is the best antagonist in Stephen King's universe, which I assume is Needful Things, but I haven't read in a while, so yep. Gaunt is Satan in that.
You were like, here's a reference. I'm not going to back it up, but I'll bring it up.
Connorit says that it's left open to imagination, which I think is better than spoon-feeding TBH, and it's a noir. Morality's mixed. Good do bad and bad do good.
Why film noir all the time? Why not film Blanc?
Do I get your joke?
I don't.
No. Blanc is white.
Oh,
the opposite of
Blanc.
noir.
I think you said bunk.
I thought you said bunk.
Yeah. Your French.
Well, I didn't.
I was like, I don't think I get it.
Your
I
French
said something significantly funnier.
is terrible.
You're right. You're so right.
I mean, I agree in general. It wasn't that the morality was like good people are doing bad things, bad people are doing good things. I didn't know why anybody was doing anything. Is the issue that I was having. It's like I'm not opposed to you beating a man to death. I mean, that's fine. Like we've all done it. The question is I wasn't even fully aware, is he a rapist? In which case it makes it a little more there's a little more weight to him punching his nose out. Or is Bradley Cooper just like murdering a guy who is otherwise kind of benign? And I just like wasn't 100% sure. And I don't think it's unfair to say that if I had that a little more clear, I would have the morality would feel more mixed up where I'm like, well, I don't think you should beat people to death regardless, but I at least have a better sense of why Bradley Cooper's doing it rather than, I think even Bradley Cooper was like punching him to death. And he's like, should I be doing this? How much did you hurt those girls? Like, should I pull back? I'm a little confused.
Should I not be punching his dick to death?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think like my perspective on it is a little bit of what we said of just like I understand that this is born of the noir genre and that like that is the lens with which through to see the movie, but it did feel like they were like, well, to adapt it from it not being a film of the 1940s, let's try and get a little more psychologically in depth and precise and get to know these characters more. But I think it just didn't go far enough in that direction. And so it feels like a noir with some character sketches as opposed to like a fully realized psychological dark thriller that is in the style of the noir film.
Sure. Yeah, I'd agree. Brian, presumably our chat person, asks,
presumably,
in terms of
there's an imposter here.
There couldn't possibly be another Brian. In terms of recent long, I think only you can answer this, Allie, but in terms of recent long meandering movies, rank Nightmare Alley, Licorice Pizza, and The Batman. I haven't seen Pizza, so.
I mean, they could not all be more different of a movie.
And the answer is?
I don't know.
Rank them from long to longest.
There's been a lot of long movies. The Power of the Dog was long also.
Sure, throw that
They're
in
all
there.
long.
You gotta.
Movies are long.
This is crack.com.
Right
we
now.
do lists. Rank them.
This is
Just go subjectively. How
YouTube.com/.
did you feel? How was your theater going experience?
Okay, I think I liked this the least. Sorry to my guy Guillermo. I think after that
I would do his voice, but I have no idea what he sounds like. I forgive you,
No, he'll be like, I love monsters.
I forgive.
That was the best I got.
Oh, does he
always
have-
talk about how much he loves monsters.
He has an accent?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And he's got a very quiet, very gentle voice.
Okay, I'll keep that in
Is
mind.
that fun? Oh, Dune if we're counting long movies. Okay, we're adding that to the mix. So for me right now, this is at the bottom. Sorry. Then I've got the Batman. Sorry, had fun, but it was really long. Then right in the middle, I'm gonna put Licorice Pizza,
Whoa.
which
Dune.
was enjoyable and was very long and meandering, but it was very much so on purpose. And the meandering sort of felt like a fuck you to people who were trying to find structure and purpose within the in the movie,
Ooh,
which
sounds
was
like
fun.
I'm not gonna like this movie.
Well, like I liked it because I found myself going, well, as a person who watches movies, this should be the act two twist, and then this character is going to serve this purpose. And every single time I had that thought, I was always extremely wrong immediately. That character disappeared and never came back, or the plot went a different way. And so I kind of liked somebody going, hey, can you just shut up a little bit and watch the movie? Like I found that sort of fun to be told in my own trying to watch the movie that I'm to just shut up and enjoy it a little bit more. So that I actually did enjoy, despite it being very long and meandering. Then I'm going to put Power of the Dog, which was really fun but very slow. However, has some of my favorite actors in the world. Jesse Plemons, he's my man. And then on the top is Dune. Dune I loved.
Awesome.
Dune no notes for Dune. Love Dune.
And I'm just going to say that X is a movie you should watch because it's very short and people die. And it's...
Those are Jesse's favorite things.
Yep.
And make sure there's at least one very weak woman.
Oh,
Do not like the strong women.
Yeah.
there is.
And don't have any blonde women with their boobs out.
Please no.
Well, X is... Sorry. That one's gone. Connor says, lol, come on, guys. It's based off a novel and like an Icarus flying too close to the sun type of movie. I mean...
Don't disagree.
Shut up, Connor.
Connor is right. You know.
Yeah, it is that structure. I just sometimes they tell us why Icarus is doing things a little bit more. That's all.
Yeah. Because he just wants to fuck the sun so bad.
Right. If I remember.
Did I read this wrong?
Yeah. And his peen burns up on reentry.
His wax dick.
He tried to cover it in feathers, but alas.
Alas.
Bryn Kelly wants to know, first, OMG, love the Brucey's video, which I did too. So go watch that. We made a video about all the movies that Bruce Willis made last year. And some people are mad because Bruce Willis might have dementia, but he's still in the movies and they're still bad. And I don't feel like we were. Also, we didn't know, but it doesn't.
Also, he was not in any way, shape, or form the worst part of any of those movies.
No,
Yeah.
not at all.
Not even close.
He wasn't great.
So he was actually a shining little star in all of them.
Yeah. So I don't know why somebody just slacked me. Oh my god, I'm getting slacks. Go away. And then
God, he's being
the actual question from Bryn is, was the ending satisfying? And I will just say it is in a general. If you kind of divorce it from the viewing experience and think about it more conceptually, I think it's great. I mean, it's very cyclical. It's very, as Connor was saying, it's an Icarus tale. It's very clear cut. You know, these are the things I wouldn't do. Then I started to do them, and it brought about my downfall. I don't think it's satisfying only because the movie wasn't overly satisfying to me to watch. Like I didn't feel the peaks and valleys. I did. Like, I liked it conceptually. This is also like Game of Thrones Season 8 for me, which is like, if I'm thinking about it, I'm totally fine with all the developments. But in the moment-to-moment watching, I'm like, well, that just happened out of freaking nowhere. That was a little bit too aggressive. And so that's my thought. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
There is definitely some really good acting at the end of the movie. Like, a lot of the through lines that come to their climax are well performed.
Totally.
So in some ways that was really satisfying. Like as much as I wasn't surprised that Cate Blanchett was a bad lady, I do like her performance. And so like it was kind of fun to watch her have her little villain twist just because it's fun to watch her act. Although there was a part where she was like, police! And then literally the police were like, pow! And they kicked in the door. And I was like, were they there? And it was like the fastest the police have ever responded to anything and will ever respond to anything. Shocking.
I do think, wasn't it security? Or I thought it might have been her security and or the cops, but like
I mean, like it zoomed out to like cop cars coming down the street.
Oh, you're right.
Guys with guns. I don't know.
Yeah, there were a lot of things like that. Jesse?
I actually really enjoyed the ending, and I wish there was more of that. I loved Bradley Cooper when he's playing this like Oscar the Grouch, like piss stink little guy. He was really, he plays a really great like pathetic loser. I thought it was a little bit kind of heavy-handed when it was like you see the twinkle in the Carney boss's eye when he pours in the shot, and you're like, yeah, I remember the last time a Carney boss said like this shot's gonna have opium in it, and this is dooming him. It's like Guillermo wanted us to bring it back to Blue's Clues, wanted us to be like yelling at the screen like, "Don't do it! There's opium in there." It's like, yeah, I know, I knew this was gonna happen. But it was interesting. Like somebody said, and I agree, it's a little bit predictable, but it was a little bit complex too, because it's not like Bradley Cooper had like spent the earlier part of the movie like beating the shit out of the geeks. He was always nice to the geeks, and now you're thinking like, oh, I hope he meets a guy that's nice to him and, you know, lets him have a drag of his cigarette.
Well, other than the geek that he literally beats the shit out
of. Yeah, that's true. But he tried to be nice to that one. But then, but he was being nice to him before the geek brained him with a rock.
Yeah, and I've always said you should kill those who aren't immediately receptive to your kindness.
Uh-huh.
That's
so you're like, hey, can I offer you a cigarette? They're like, I'm so sorry, I don't smoke.
I never smoke.
I was actually very disappointed that Chris Rock didn't immediately just shoot Will Smith into the sun like Icarus.
Like Icarus himself, we brought it all back.
Yeah. So that he would melt like wax. So final thought: should we watch this movie? I say if you got nothing else to do, sure. But there's a lot of movies in the world, and I don't know that there's any particular reason. And in fact, there are several, like, if you want good Bradley Cooper acting long movies, I think The Place Beyond the Pines is one of the best long, several acts movies where Bradley Cooper also plays a very complicated character, but he's not so easily swayed by opium in your shot glass. Thoughts?
Yeah,
Watch?
I mean, it was free insofar as I already pay for HBO Max, but I did not spend any extra money to see this movie.
Right.
So I think if you can watch this movie for no extra money, nothing bad will happen to you. I'm not sure you're going to be like, I'm so glad I did that. But you're definitely not going to be like, I can't believe I wasted my time on that.
Yeah, for sure. Jesse?
Yeah, the Carney world building was fun. It was kind of nice to be in that atmosphere of the carnival. They did do, I won't say they did great, but they did a lot of Carney vernacular. You know, they like, and you could tell the actors had fun saying stuff like, I don't know, like a straight tooth okie or something like that. I think was one of them. Like there were some funny words.
Yes.
So the Carney details are cool.
Yeah, I think they could have made it like it could have been like a war. I mean, I realize it's based on a certain source material, but I think something like The Prestige, but with Carney dudes, would have been really interesting. Like competing, like if there was another, and Cate Blanchett essentially becomes that, right? She's a separate mentalist type, reads people person, and they're having sort of a battle, but Bradley Cooper doesn't know that they're fighting until the last 3 minutes. He's like, oh my God, if we were in competition, shit. So I do think they could have, I could see Christian Bale and freaking Hugh Jackman being like, I'm the greatest Carney. And then they're going at each other. And I actually had to do Hugh Jackman's accent for a video about The Prestige not that long ago. So I have it a little bit in me.
I love it. I love The Prestige. The Prestige is a movie that I can watch at all times.
Okay, we're going to do alternate titles. We got some in here, but let's do ours first. I've got Freaks and Geeks.
Nice.
And
Damn.
Cirque de Boring.
I liked that. I pulled out one of my very favorite lines from the movie, which is when Cate Blanchett is described as a frozen face bitch.
So that's the title?
Yeah, I loved it.
Okay.
It also wasn't the part of it that really stuck out to me that it wasn't a frozen faced bitch. It was a frozen face bitch. And also she knew it was her from half a drawing in the Notebook that one time. And she immediately was like, "You're sleeping with her." Obsessed. Frozen face bitch. I mean, I keep that in, that's up here for the rest of my life.
And if you want to apply it to the character that she plays at the end in the snow, who's dead, so that's kind of a frozen face lady of sorts.
Yeah.
And
Whoa.
she's covered in blood. That's not nice. Jesse, you got anything?
Yeah, let's see here. Nightmare in the Alley. How to Get a Guy to Geek in 10 Days.
Wow. go. That's my fave.
Revenge of the Babysat.
Don't
Ultimately, that's Bradley Cooper's whole thing, is that he killed his like stepdad because he didn't like how he was when he looked
he let
after
him
him.
freeze to death for sure.
Yeah,
All right, sure.
and he very like heavy-handedly. He's like,
Oh God, you
I
froze.
liked you very much.
Oh,
In the
Jesus.
window, waiting for him to die.
We're losing him at the
I don't
end.
know.
You
Let's see.
froze during that
Okay,
whole bit.
Look who's geeking. Oh shit! Yeah, you guys are frozen. Anyway, this is my last title.
All right.
Look who's geeking now.
Ooh.
That's a good one too. I'm a big fan.
All right.
I was really trying to think of something with Ringling Brothers Circus, and I kept trying to be like dirt piss, ring something, and then I never got there, so I gave up on it.
I think dirt piss is good.
something is.
Ringling
perfect.
Brothers Dirt Piss. It's perfect.
I was trying to think of something with Indiana Jones, because that's what he had, the Indiana Jones hat. His silhouette looked like he was just Indiana Jones.
Yeah, I think
I couldn't think of anything.
I think I could throw in there like tub jizz.
Ugh.
Ooh, Tub Girl. Yeah.
Tub girl. All right, so let's see what else we got in here. We got Gargoyle live action movie. Interesting. Unless that's not a title and just a thing that they were talking about when they said this.
just a wish list.
Because Brian once again did not collect these. We got Geek Wars. Interesting.
Okay.
Geek Off, but the art looks like Face Off.
Ooh, fan.
We got Maybe He's Born for It. Maybe It's Nightmare Alley. Okay. And Tub Boy, which I think is just a
Nice.
play on what I just said, because it's again
We all got to the same
from
place.
Brian. All right, word. So I guess we're done. I want to mention again that we tagged our Discord that we just opened up at the top of this chat, and I'll put it in the actual comments and stuff as well. So go in there. We're going to be in there sometimes yelling about things, but you will have to be very civil or I'll kick you out.
Yeah. Or Olivia Colman will stand up and beat you up,
Yeah!
like WWE style.
Hell yeah. Where can we find you, Jesse?
You can find me lighting my babysitter on fire, or you can find me on Twitter at Eisemann, Eisemann.
Wonderful. Allie?
You can find me on Twitter at Miss Alice Nutting, MSALICENUTTING. That is where I am.
And I am on the Twitter at _J_breeding. And I'm going to say this thing that I always say, which is we're going to be live streaming every Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern. I don't know if it's daylight or not, because I keep forgetting. But please subscribe to Cracked Movie Club on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts, because we put this up as audio only. And we also exist as a newsletter where you can get all the latest Cracked movie coverage, essays. You can talk to us about stuff. So sign up there at cracked.com/movie club. And hopefully we'll pick in the next few days, like the next several movies that we're going to do.
Yeah.
So if,
I mean, I have a wish list or something that I hope we can do.
yeah.
Which is that I am seeing Everything Everywhere All at Once tonight, and I hear it's awesome.
I know they don't have it here yet. So we'll have to see about that.
Maybe it's because their pizza's so bad.
It is. They said we're not going to bring
So it
this.
doesn't want to come down.
Yeah, this indie film because our pizza sucks. Yeah, right. Our pizza rocks. All right, that's it. I'm signing off. Goodbye, everyone.
Adios.
See ya.